Welcome to the Detroit Lions News Show, your number one source for Detroit Lions news.
But when I see Dan Campbell handling the clock the way he has over the last 3 years, the same shit with fourth down going for it, admitting after the game that, yeah, you know what, our defense played pretty well, but, we put them in bad spots. Whose fucking fault is that, buddy?
That's a turnover, I'm sorry, especially in your own freaking side. Don't play that way, Dan. I hope you're listening. Don't coach that way.
So Darcy's on with us pre-show, talking about how he's ready for the Hendon football.
Wow. You got to continue to do the work. There is a lot of hype and there is a lot of the media involved now.
And Jahmyr Gibbs, guys, you're going to fall in love with them because Goff's going to find him in the slot. He's going to get a lot of screen passes.
I've been following the Lions. That's my team, man. They're the team that drafted me and gave me a chance to play the NFL.
Finally talking Lions in the playoffs. We got the Stafford angle, the Aaron Donald angle. We didn't draft Aaron Donald. We took Eric Ebron. I want no part of that.
No, Detroit fans. Hey, I got my jersey right there. Got my number right there. Let's get it cheering, man. It's time for y'all to start cheering right now.
Super Bowl.
That's right.
And this is the season finale show, guys. This is going to be a great show. What a great, wonderful season. We have my buddy here, Joe Chapp, Walter Stringer, and John Macaroon. You guys are the experts. Talk about it here. I'm going to produce. Remember, this is a live interactive show. Please get your comments up. The podcasters will get to them at time when I pop them up. Thank you, guys. What's going on, John? How you been?
Yeah, it was great. We got a chance to talk to Brad Holmes. Earlier this week, the general manager of the Lions addressed the media and set the internet ablaze with his, he took the opportunity, which he should, to gloat about the fact that, hey, the intentional plan that the Lions started back in 2021 has worked. And he really took up an opportunity to point out by name certain media members that he felt were expressing a little dissent back in 2021. And it was interesting. A lot of good things to take away from Brad Holmes. I thought clearly, obviously, the first thing was people gravitated toward the fact that he took a victory lap for the work that he's done, which is well-deserved. Everybody deserves a little bit of recognition, but the work's not done. Mr. Brad Holmes, you got more work to do. You got to take this thing all the way home. Then the other thing that I think people really understood was the fact that he said, this is an intentional plan. The Lions have to be a sustained program. So what it said to me was he's not going to probably push all in. He's not going to do the F the picks situation like Les Snead. And I thought that the key thing that you gravitated toward, at least that I heard, was everybody don't panic based on our moves. Now, that is open to interpretation. I'm still trying to think, what does that mean? What was that message? Does that mean that maybe some players that we all expect are going to be brought back might not be brought back, like a Jonah Jackson, C.D. Deuce, Josh Reynolds, Graham Glasgow? Does that mean there's going to be some more turnover than we're used to? Or does that mean, look, and it probably means this, does that mean, hey, this is something where we have about $60 million in cap space. We got to reserve some for rookies, but we're going to spend a lot of our money on our own guys, bringing guys back, because he did say we're a draft and develop, sign our own kind of team. And what he really tried to do was tell everybody, look, there's going to be a lot of talking heads, a lot of people that talk about our draft and free agency. Don't freak out when people dissent. Our plan is to win in December and January. And I thought that was really bold, and it's something that really allows us to dig in and understand, okay, are you guys okay if the offseason involves mostly signing their own? Because, look, would you and I, Joe, Walt, Darcy, would you guys love to go get the number one cornerback from the Bears Johnson and bring him to the Lions and spend $15 million a year on him? Absolutely. Is that the right fit for the Lions? I don't think so at this time. I think what the Lions want to do, and he said we might not even have as many acquisitions in free agency that you've seen in the past. Last year with David Montgomery and Cam Sutton, each getting a little over contracts. David Montgomery $6 million and Cam Sutton $11 million, and you had an Emmanuel Mosley in the mix. So I think, at least my early interpretation is, don't expect that wallet's going to open up and you're going to get a big, huge splash. I think they like what they saw from this roster, and then the majority of the additions they're going to expect are going to come from the draft. And if you can get contributions like you got from Jahmyr Gibbs, Jack Campbell, and you got from Sam Laporta, if you can get that again and they're playing at a high level, this can be a situation where the Lions could make another run. But that's how I interpret it. I'm curious, guys, fellas, how did you interpret what Brad Holmes said? And did you get a kick out of him dunking on the media? Or are you like everyone else? You're like, hey, wait a minute. It's a little too soon to plant the flag. You haven't won anything yet. You got NFL good this year. And I thought that he kind of planted his flag saying, hey, look what I did. One good season's great. But now, fingers pointed right back at you, Brad. You got to do it again in 2024. What do you guys think of Brad Holmes in the way in which he talked to the media, and your early thoughts about how you interpreted what the early free agent plan is going to be with the Lions?
Well, me personally, I think it's very similar to what the Green Bay Packers approach had been for over 30 years and longer than that. Draft well, develop, pay those players, and not completely divulge majority of your payroll to guys from other teams, because I think in football it's very difficult to find the proper fit. You're talking about schemes, you're talking about meshing with coaches, positional coaches, assistant coaches, being able to fit within that locker room personality wise. Like, there's a lot of things that goes into bringing in outside free agents. So what I pulled from it was, fans should still be calm, because one thing's for sure. I know I joke around about it. Other podcasters, Lion podcasters, may joke around about Brad Holmes being frugal and not really shopping in the high-end part of the store or whatnot. But one thing's for sure, and he's proven it in the first 3 drafts, he's going to get high-end level talent in the first round for sure. He wants difference makers. Penei Sewell, difference maker at left tackle or right tackle, wherever you choose to put him. Jameson Williams, he's slowly coming along the way I kind of predicted when he first got drafted. And difference maker, Jahmyr Gibbs, difference maker. Sam Laporta, even though Sam wasn't a first-round pick, still Sam Laporta, big-time difference maker. So he's proven through 3 drafts that when it comes to the first round, he's looking for difference makers, hands down. Now, as far as free agency, I do believe that one thing's for sure, you don't want to overpay free agents from other teams, and you also don't want to overpay guys on your team that you may not have realized have reached the ceiling. We did a show a few days ago on 19 of some of the more notable names in free agency for us. You're talking about 6 offensive linemen in that group who could be gone, that you may have to replace, or you may have to overpay a couple guys simply because you don't want, to completely lose the entire offensive line room. But this is a team that you have to toe the line. I don't think if you look at history, you can look at what the Green Bay Packers have done historically, 30, 40 years, whatever, but they've gotten away with because they've had Hall of Fame quarterback play as well. Not to mention, a guy like Holmgren being there and the system that was pretty much set in. So you still need free agency. But what I pulled from it was what we've seen the first 3 years. He's going to try guys out as Reynolds. You're looking at even DJ Chark for that matter, Emmanuel Mosley. He's into trying these guys out, kicking the tires, seeing what could work. And if he strikes out, he strikes out. A guy like Chauncey Gardner Johnson, he's the guy that I don't really envision being back. You look at that San Francisco 49er game, I think what he pulled in bumping Debo for no reason and taking that penalty, that was something that you expect from a young player on this team, a Brian Branch or somebody. Not you, not the veteran, not somebody that was brought in to galvanize his locker room and be the elder statesman in his locker room, even though Chauncey's still young. And Chauncey, even though the one thing you do have in his favor is the fact that he did miss a lot of time. So you didn't get to see the best of CJ. But CJ, I believe, is also caught in a situation where safeties. You're gonna pay Melifonwu more than likely coming up. Kirby's gonna get paid. Branch, even though he's not listed as a safety, he's still one of those Swiss Army knife interchangeable players. He's gonna get paid. So you're looking at a situation where he could actually get caught up in the numbers, and I also like the fact that he said what he said. That man has a chip on his shoulder. And if you look at his story, where he came from, where he started, I don't blame him at all. He had doors slammed in his face. We all know the story about how he started out working at a rental car shop, and then, he worked his way through the Rams organization, and now he's the lead head man of the Detroit Lions. So, yeah, I mean, I think he said what a lot of these GMs really want to say after a draft, because they take a lot of heat, a lot of unnecessary heat. For me also, I think from all of us, because prior to the draft, we all have our ideas of who our teams should draft. That goes on in 32 NFL cities. That's just how it is. But I don't think it should have bothered him that much, but it for sure bothered him. And he made sure he let us all know about it. Dan's not going to open his mouth and say too much, and neither is Goff. But athletes say they don't, or we don't hear the outside noise. They all hear the outside noise, because athletes are not only motivated by stats and money, they're motivated by doubters. And does he come across as the type of guy that would be motivated by doubters and is going to slam it in your face that, yeah, we got it right? Because all fingers right now point to the fact that they got it right. Sam Laporta, potential all-pro player moving forward. Gibbs, potential all-pro type player. St. Brown, Penei Sewell, we all know what he is. So he's done a damn good job in the draft, and he's earned a right to be respected on that. But if he believes that on a year-to-year basis people aren't going to question him, that just comes with the territory.
Well, I think you guys are both off the mark. I think the local media is off the mark, and I think you guys are some suckers. Now, I'm not calling you guys suckers, but I'm saying just in general, because everybody's falling for the trap. Everybody's falling for a trap. I do a podcast with the Red Wings, okay, as well as the Lions. But when Steve Eisman talks and he says something, you don't believe an effing word that guy says, because he'll say the sky is green and we know it's blue. These GMs lie. When Brad Holmes said he's gonna stick to his plan, Steve Eisman said the same shit last offseason at his end of the year presser. He said, I'm gonna stick to the plan. I'm not gonna make any bold moves. I'm not gonna do this. Signs 12 players, makes a big trade. I don't believe anything the guy says. Obviously he's not gonna tell the whole world, hey, yeah, I want Danielle Hunter, I want Jalen Johnson, I want this guy, because then he's going to be, if he goes to the bargaining table and there's another team on the other side, let's say it's the Minnesota Vikings, they're going to try to drive up that price as much as they effing can to make sure that if the Lions do get Danielle Hunter, they pay the price for it. So that's why a lot of these general managers, well, smart ones, unless you have Bob Quinn as your general manager and he's talking about, or Al Avila as your general manager, talking about his players' value. But this is just the way it goes. And I think that if you're Brett Holmes, you're not going to show your cards too early. And honestly, they're not even in the prep for free agents already. They're trying to look at their roster. They're classifying what they need, what they don't need, what they need to assess at the combine. They're not looking at free agents right now. Their scouts are, but the general managers aren't.
Well, Joe, let me ask you this, because here's the thing that would maybe put a hole in your thought. When you look at teams that are successful, a lot of them have young players, cheap contracts, and are really don't overpay for people that don't produce. So maybe I think he's going to add free agents, but I think what Walt said is a little bit more in line because I think Brad Holmes has been relatively accurate. He's been pretty straightforward. He's saying last year, he said, we don't believe we're one player away. I think that the belief is it's a team concept. And I don't believe that they're going to look at what we would call tier one free agents. Now, would a guy like Jalen Johnson be great here in Detroit? Absolutely. You want to pay $20 million for him? I don't think so. I think that when Brad Holmes says, everybody don't be shocked regarding what we're doing, he also said, what we're trying to do is we're not trying to be a flash in the pan. We're not trying to be one and done. I want that. I want to just sacrifice the first day 1 and day 2 picks and get 5 good players. But Brad Holmes, I think, is thinking differently. He's thinking, I want to be able to year in, year out, be in the postseason. And yes, we want talent. We want competition. But that doesn't necessarily mean going out there within the parameters of the cap. They can't do it. Goff is going to take a big chunk. Amon-Ra is going to take a big chunk. Penei Sewell is going to take a big chunk. So in that sense, I think those that get the fat dollars, technically, and Brad Holmes has said it, those are technically free agents. Is that, hey, when we keep our own guys that are free agents, that's still an opportunity for others to go get them. We keep them. I think when you look at Brad Holmes, which is really unheard of, in I think his 3 drafts, every single body is on the roster still. The loyalty that they have to their players, they want to draft and develop. So I do think they'll add. Of course, I agree with you in that they're going to keep everything close to the vest. But I would be shocked if they went out there and gave Chase Young a big contract to fill that need based on his effort and all that. Not a fit. I think that they like to add 6 players a year via the draft, 2 or 3, $5 to $7 million a year free agent that they feel are gritty, more like David Montgomery, guys that have talent, but maybe in a situation where they know they got more to prove if they're in the right spot. That's the kind of people they want. Now, do I agree with that? No, I want to shop. I think fans should want to shop, get the best players because, for me, I don't care about sustainability. That's just me. Could be wrong. I don't care about sustainability. I think 24 is the year. Go all in, make the push, add 4 guys, and worry about 25 down the road because this football team is close. But that's the key. You saw, in my opinion, Nick Bosa, Christian McCaffrey, high-end talent. They made the plays in the big moments. Our guys didn't. So it's an interesting look at Brad Holmes and how he does things.
Well, I think one, what you said about paying the top end talent. Okay, you're right about that. But you're not going to just go out and get the top end talent. You're going to go out and you're going to, first of all, Brad Holmes has to assess the roster and what he needs. Like he's going to categorize what's good at what's good in the draft, what's good in free agency. Then he's going to look at, okay, where can I get the most impact? So he's going to look at the draft as like, okay, where can I get guys that I can get for cheap? You know what I'm saying? And then he's going to go into the free agent class and he's going to look at that and he's going to go, okay, a guy like Jalen Johnson, maybe he's off the board, but let's put a hypothetical out there. Let's say Khalil Mack can be had by the LA Chargers because they need to clear some cap space. I think he would make that trade. I do. Because I feel like, here's the thing. We say that, you're saying you don't want sustainability, but every general manager that's smart looks at sustainability. So it's also the way you kind of organize the cap. It's the way you organize the contract that you sign in free agency. So let's say they sign a Danielle Hunter and they front load the contract where all the money is being paid in the first year or the first 2 years. And then when you get to Amon-Ra and you get to Penei Sewell, you're backloading in the contract because the salary cap is going to go up. That's what I'm trying to say. See, a lot of people, especially in the media and fans in general, they have this hypothetical that there's a salary cap. Salary cap isn't real. There is a little bit of the salary cap that's real, but in conjunction, like here's how did the 49ers for Javon Kinlaw? I mean, not Kinlaw. What is it? Javon Hargrave last year. They just backloaded the contract. They made it performance laden. They did a lot of different things. If you got a good cap guy, you can fit everything under the cap. Now they're not paying a quarterback, but they're also paying Debo, they're paying Nick Bosa, they're paying Trent Williams. They got a lot of money that they're paying out too. So I don't look at it as like you're giving away the sustainability of your program. I look at it as if you think that this one player in free agency can put you over the top on defense or offense, Brad Holmes is gonna do it. I guarantee it.
Yeah, no, I real fast. I want to say this. I think the Lions are 5 players away. I think you need 1 or 2 more linemen. You need 2 cornerbacks. You need an edge rusher. So that's why I look at it and I say there's still a lot more holes. And you could say that the 49ers maybe pushed all in for this year. And their situation gets a little more dire when Brock Purdy's situation comes up. That's why their window might be closing. So that's why in the NFL, the window opens and the window closes just that fast. And yeah, when the window's open, I think a lot of the reasons why people want aggression is they saw Les Snead do it. He basically built up a nice roster and then started trading picks and getting Matthew Stafford and getting Odell Beckham and getting players, Von Miller, getting good guys that put them over the top. And I think in Detroit, the history makes it so that we're starving. We just want one championship, and then we can worry about the other years later. So I think free agency, it would be great if they added Jalen Johnson, but I would be shocked if that's the guy that's on this roster. We can agree defense is where they need to target maybe in free agency. Is there any other position that you think, obviously kicker, cornerback, maybe some depth on the offensive line? Where does this football team need to address and upgrade right away and prioritize A and B so that they can go from the NFC title to potential Super Bowl champs? Where do they got to get better?
Well, I do believe first and foremost they have to find some sort of balance between free agency and the draft. I think that's what any team, any organization, you can't completely depend on free agency and screw the draft, and you can't depend completely on the draft and say screw free agency. Depend completely on the free agency and say screw the draft. But just to piggyback off what Joe was just saying, I think historically, which has only been 3 years for him, he hasn't shown us otherwise. You know, as great as the scouting team has been, organizational wise, as far as finding talent in the draft, they haven't found much in free agency. Chark was a one and done. Deshaun Elliott was a one and done. Chauncey Gardner may be a one and done. They haven't found a whole lot as far as impact players. They kind of just been kicking the tires on dudes the first 3 years, seeing what works. They went out with the Denzel Mims trade. That didn't work out at all. He was here for about a hot second. So I don't see much changing just because he got a little bit of money in his pocket. It's kind of like the guy who never buys any fancy shoes, doesn't buy the fancy car, doesn't eat out at all the fancy restaurants, and you figure once he hits the lottery, he's going to become somebody different. I don't think he's going to become anybody different at all. They just don't have any intentions on giving people a lot of money from other teams. I could see it possibly happening if, let's say, if it's a situation where they have an off draft, because every GM, regardless how great we think these GMs are, they all have an off draft. Let's say, for instance, if the Lions have an off draft here in 2024 and the players don't work out, and we're heading into the 2024-2025 offseason saying, you know what, this corner we took didn't work out. This defensive tackle we took in the second round, he didn't work out. This didn't work, and doesn't look like these guys are gonna be here for the long run, because sometimes with some rookies you can see that. Then people are gonna start to double back on, well, you know what? Maybe we need to actually focus a little bit more on free agency, because there's guys out there that can help your team, period. We can try to model things after Frisco or Green Bay or whatever. Frisco's been as good as they've been for the last 5 years or whatnot because of the head coach, the scheme, the system, and the fact that they have a lot of really good players on that team, offensively as well as defensively. Now, they plug the quarterback in or whatnot, but it's still the head coach, and it's still the system, and it's still the culture and the scheme over there. You look at, like I said, Green Bay. You had Aaron Rodgers, you had Brett Favre. They got away with what they got away with. So I do believe they have to find some sort of balance. If you can find an upgrade at defensive tackle in the draft or a corner, I would rather see that come in free agency if the players are better in free agency over the draft. I don't want to see us just keep getting younger and younger with every year and you're just overpaying guys that shouldn't be overpaid simply because they're culture guys. They're guys that we like. They're guys that have been through the trenches with us and we trust them and we want to reward them. If you can find upgrades, I believe you have to find upgrades. But for me, as far as necessity, I believe the offensive line is a bigger necessity than people really understand. We mentioned 6 or 7 guys, 8 guys potentially along that offensive line could be gone for bigger contracts or whatnot. You have the issue with Frank. You know, Frank can walk away at any point in time. So center's an issue. I think a guy who can play center or guard predominantly is better. Of course, we always discuss the defensive tackle position, edge rusher. You got guys leaving at that spot right there. What kind of defensive tackle do you want? Are you looking for a pure 3-tech that can push the pocket and create havoc? Are you looking for a big-time guy in the middle of that defense that can play some 1, some 0, a little bit of 2, but mainly can get out there and take on blocks and make things a hell of a lot easier for Aleem McNeil and whoever else you decide to get via free agency or via the draft? Corner, of course. And I also believe safety. If they stick with this 4-2-5 defense, you're not going to pay all these damn safeties. That would just be negligent. They're not going to do that for sure. There's no guarantee Melifonwu will be back. If we just being honest about it, somebody could come along and knock his socks off, him and his agent, with money. Kirby Joseph is going to get paid. Tracy Walker's probably gone. I'm not sure if they really want Chauncey Gardner back. So, as we already understand that in the NFL, you can have an abundance of riches and be broke in one offseason if you don't just keep refueling that same area, which is the bloodline, which is the offensive line. So, right now, I would tell a lot of people, even though a lot of us feel as Lions fans, defense, we want the team to just draft defensive players the entire draft. If you're not careful, you're looking at Penei Sewell, who's the crown jewel of that offensive line. Decker's getting older. He's been beat up a lot lately. Frank, you're dealing what you're dealing with Frank right now. Things as far as his future is up in the air. Jonah could be gone. Glasgow could be gone. Vitae more than likely is gone. So you can't just take for granted that the offensive line has been great these last 2-3 years. You got to keep refueling that. And I believe that's what I took from actually one of his comments when he said that he wasn't going to neglect the offensive line, or they weren't going to neglect the offensive line, because that's what they're built off of. That was their first overall pick in Penei Sewell. And if that offensive line isn't right, Goff isn't right, the running game isn't right, and you don't have that identity without that right there.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. So I'm curious. First shout out to the chat. Roddy, Barry, Roy, we see you. Barry gets in. He thinks that the Lions need guard, interior of the defensive line. I think I agree. Definitely the Lions are not going to neglect the offensive line or the defensive line. They know where their bread is buttered in the trenches. Hit us up. If you have any questions, hit the chat. We'll get to as many as humanly possible here in the next 15, 20 minutes. But in regards to this football team, everybody got a chance to see how close they got. And obviously the grit mentality, the us versus the world, everybody got a chance to read, hopefully, Alex Ancelone's piece where he talked about just how brutal that loss was, having to cope with it. And then a couple days later, having his young son bring up, hey, did you guys make the Super Bowl? And having that scar ripped open again. But he said something at the end. He said, look, this year hurts, but next year it's us. And Dan Campbell told, and it's really interesting, for Alex Ancelone to reveal a question that Dan Campbell was asking in the exit interviews, which was, are you going to watch the Super Bowl? And Alex was a little bit befuddled. He didn't know how to answer that. And Dan said, no, you watch the entire thing and use it when you're pissed off as motivation for next year. And I think Dan Campbell said it right. The eyes of the fan base and the players are open that the Lions were this close, 30 minutes away from competing for the Super Bowl. But with that roster, that roster was probably good enough to get there. I'm not certain with that defense were they good enough to win it. So are you going to count on a bunch of young cats next year in an all-in year? Look, I think it's being framed that way. I think it should be that way. 2024 is Super Bowl or bust. This is the year to do it, in that you're gonna have Goff probably right in the middle of his prime. You're gonna have Jahmyr Gibbs, Sam Laporta, Jamison Williams. You're gonna have and who knows when Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn are gonna actually leave. To get Ben Johnson back again really is a coup, that he wants to stick another year in Detroit. So whatever they got to do, they got to find that right mix of sustainability, but also realizing this window is prime right now. I know the schedule is tough with that first place schedule, but are you guys feeling like the organization is going to take it as seriously as possible to make it and get there? Because it's hard to believe, because you know how hard it is, and Dan Campbell put it out there. The challenge, you saw the Eagles start 10-1 and still fall off. That first half against the 49ers, I agree with Roy, was the best football I've ever seen. But at the same time, the second half was the worst football that I've ever seen. They couldn't get off the mat. 2024, is it Super Bowl or bust? Do you truly believe in your gut? Couple moves here and there, this football team can win the Super Bowl? My mind's not there just yet. Obviously, we got to see the moves, but there's a lot of good football teams out there, a lot of good general managers, and you got some elite quarterbacks that are going to be coming back, and you got a hungry Lamar Jackson. So it's tough. I love the mantra, but without more talent, I'm not sure the ceiling is a Super Bowl win. The grit mentality is great, but you still need talent in those big moments if you're going to go up against the likes of Patrick Mahomes and some great minds in the NFL. Joe, what do you think? Super Bowl or bust? Are you starting to believe it?
I don't believe in Super Bowl or bust. I don't even believe in like championship or bust, to be honest. I mean, like if this was Tom Brady as a quarterback and he's in his last year, I'd be like, yeah, we got to win or else we're freaking screwed. But this is a younger team. You know, they got a lot of young pieces. Jahmyr Gibbs, Sam Laporta, Brian Branch. They have 9 players under the age of 23, so they're rolling in the right direction no matter what. So here's the thing. You said I want to go back to what you said, John. You said they were 5 players away.
About 5 good players away, shoring up a couple spots. Yeah, your offense is pretty set. Couple depth pieces on the offensive line, shoring up the cornerback spot. You're decent at linebacker and safety. I think you're 5 above average players away from not only getting there, but winning it.
So I think you're 3. So I'm going to short you by 2. Here's why I think you're 3. So, you know, I always go back to what I was taught by what I was in that scouting class of Bill Polian. And he said that you need 6 elite players to win a Super Bowl most of the time. And elite to good. So you need elite to good. So if you look at the 49ers right now, you look at McCaffrey, you want to put Debo, Trent Williams, Bosa, Warner, Kittle. That's 5 right there. Then you look at the Chiefs, you go Mahomes, Kels. They're the L'Jarius Sneed, if you want to call him good, which he is good. Chris Jones. And then they're kind of different because Patrick Mahomes is probably Michael Jordan of the NFL right now. But that's the way it goes. So I look at this team and I go, okay, where are the 5 elite players on this team? Elite to good. So I look at Sam Laporta. I look at if Frank Ragnow comes back. Frank Ragnow he's one of the top 5 centers, I would say. I think Hutch is getting there, but I don't think he's there yet. I do think that Brian Branch is trending towards one of the top 5 slot cornerbacks in the league. And I look at Amon-Ra St. Brown. I look at him as a top 10 wide receiver. So I don't think they're that far behind. So is it Super Bowl or bust? I know that's what you were saying, but I don't think it's Super Bowl or bust. I think, you know, this is going back to what I was saying about free agency. I think they're going to take this seriously because you just said it earlier. You never know when the window opens and closes. You know, a couple years ago, the Buffalo Bills were thinking that this run was going to last forever. and they pay Josh Allen all that money, which Josh Allen is not Jared Goff, so we can get that out of our heads. But they suffered a lot of injuries this year. You know, they had a lot of injuries that caused them not to get to the AFC champion. Well, they had a chance to win, and they didn't. So their window seems like it's like kind of closing a little bit. So you're right about that, but I think that Brett Holmes recognizes that. Like you don't know how long the window will be open. So I think it's going to be like they're going to go into free agency cautiously aggressive. That's what I would say. Where they're going to take they might take a chance on a couple players, but I don't think they're going to go, oh, let's sign Jalen Johnson to a massive deal, because I think that's more reserved for the Jets, because that's what the Jets do.
Okay, let me
Throw
frame
the
it this
Jets
way.
under the table.
Yeah. Let me frame it this way. Okay, I think I know what you're saying, Joe, is that you have faith that Brad Holmes will sustain this in regards to getting to the playoffs, having success, having it. What I'm saying is Super Bowl or bust with this core group of players. What I'm saying is the window's open now, and the window's open in 24. If you don't win it in 24, I think you're going to have other teams start poaching some of the Lions, the salary cap situation. You're going to be paying Amon-Ra St. Brown, Aiden Hutchinson, Penei Sewell, Jared Goff. Now your defense is going to be whittled away. You're not going to have as much opportunity because you can't pay everybody. Maybe a Brian Branch decides to go somewhere else. You're not going to have this group of players, which means 3 more years away. So when I say Super Bowl or bust, I say with this group, the chance to win the Super Bowl is 24, and that's it. And if you don't win it, then you retool it, and it's going to take another 3 years because young players and things like that. So for me, that's why I'm all in, and give yourself as much of an opportunity to win it now, and then worry about tearing it down and rebuilding it, even letting some guys go. But I think with this core group, with this young cats that you got on early deals and the talent level, first and second year players, 24 is the year.
Honestly, man, I think it's hard to say. I think
no, it's not hard to say. That's the facts.
No, because there's a little bit.
That's the facts. Dynasties don't come around every day. We're not going to go from mediocre to being the Chiefs. That's far fetched. I think you look at it like most teams is you get a window, you capitalize on it, and you say, hey, look, if they don't win it in 24, I don't think they're going to win it in 25. That's my thought.
I mean, the reason I say is still the only dynasties we've seen in football, and we can always say, okay, you know what, this quarterback is a Hall of Fame quarterback because of what they had around him. You look at a guy like Joe Montana, who wasn't the most physically gifted quarterback. You look at where he was drafted, but he went to the perfect system with the right head coach and a shitload of talent on both sides of the football, and he won. Brady won with New England. Patrick Mahomes consistently there with the Chiefs. They also have one of the greatest head coaches of all time as well, and a hell of a defense. So there's a lot more that goes into it. I think when you look at the dynasty thing, though, every dynasty, even the Pittsburgh Steelers, they won 2 with Big Ben. But at the end of the day, that Steeler team still was – they didn't win it consistently, but they were consistently, routinely in the divisional round, the AFC Championship game. That's kind of where, as a Lions fan, I think you aim to be. But the problem with what happened this year is that people are going to ask, did the Lions peak early? Because this was a young-ass football team, like with not a lot of high-end talent. So the question is going to always come up, did you get there too soon? Did they peak early? Now, what's the thing about that is this is a team where this is why I always go back to free agency, because you're not gonna hit a home run in every single draft class. There's going to be a year where things happen, where you're going to need better veteran leadership, better veteran players on the field around. And if everybody's young as hell and everybody's 28 and younger or 27 and younger, and everybody's consistently, routinely learning on job, including the head coaches, how is that really going to work out? That's the only real question I have about their approach towards everything. But granted, you're going to start losing people. I do believe if you look at the true core of this team, Laporta's not going anywhere for a long time, more than likely. Jahmyr Gibbs isn't going anywhere for a long time, more than likely. Whether or not in another 2 years they replace Montgomery with another big bruising back in the draft or whatever. That's neither here nor there. Sewell is part of that. He's not going anywhere for sure anytime soon. Hutchinson isn't. More than likely, St. Brown is their baby, so to speak. He's one of their crown jewels. He's not going anywhere. They're going to pay him. He seems like a guy that's not going to want to leave, and he wants to actually be here. For me, it's the defensive side of the ball that could hold them back if they decide to not invest more of those tickets in that side of the football right now. So to me, that's the only thing that could really hold this team back, other than the fact that you're not guaranteed to get back. And I wanted to say one thing, what I was going to originally say before what John was saying, what he was saying. If you look at how you need some luck involved in this as well. Cincinnati got there, hasn't made it back. The quarterback can't stay healthy. He's had 2 years of season-ending injuries. If you look at what Cincinnati went through on their way to the Super Bowl that year, they played a Raider team that couldn't score at all. They played a Tennessee Titan team in the second round that couldn't score at all. Played hard defense, was tough, but couldn't score. By the time they got to the AFC Championship, they were playing the Kansas City Chiefs team who they had already beaten already. They had the one-up on them, and they matched up really good with them. You need a lot of things to go your way also to reach the Super Bowl. You need to stay healthy. This team, granted, throughout the season, they had their share of injuries, but they didn't have anything devastating. We didn't lose Jared Goff for 6 weeks. St. Brown wasn't gone for a month. Hutchinson wasn't gone for 3-4 weeks. We lost guys, but we had enough depth. Now the question is this: the depth that you keep bringing back, whether it's John Kaminsky, it's Bugs are gone now. Talking about a guy like Benito Jones, whatever. Do you keep bringing these guys back? Even Josh Reynolds. I think the receiver position is something that no one seems to talk about because they figure, okay, we'll golf through for X amount of yards, and we got St. Brown. We're due for an upgrade. As much as I do like Josh Reynolds and what he brings to the table, and he's got a relationship with Goff and all this other stuff, Goff can build a relationship with somebody new. We can upgrade from Reynolds. There were games I watched where, and we joked about, I know me and Ashanti and Joe have joked about Josh Reynolds being one-catch Reynolds, whatever. We need someone outside of St. Brown because we're keeping it 100. We're hoping that Jameson really flourishes next year, because if he doesn't flourish, we're stuck not being able to really attack teams outside the numbers. And that is something I'm going to lean on right now. I don't think this offense really gets to the next level until they can consistently attack outside the numbers. Now, we expect Jameson to be much better next season. This is year 3. The talent is there. He seemed to be more comfortable catching the football as the season unfolded. He had 2 touchdowns against San Francisco, so we expect him to be a bigger part of this offense. But they have to open this offense up some next year, and we need someone outside of St. Brown. Hopefully it's an X, someone who's around 6'2", 6'3", or even if he's not that tall, someone who can do everything route-wise. Because I think that's something also this team really needs a lot. But as far as next season being Super Bowl or bust, what screwed it up is the fact that they won 12 games this year and got to the NFC Championship, because anything less than that next year is going to be viewed as a disappointment.
I look at it a little differently. I think that they thought this would be the year. When you saw the devastation of what Dan Campbell was talking about, you got a young team, hungry, with that schedule. I think they thought once, maybe not to the NFC title game, but they for sure thought they could win a bunch of playoff games in regards to having a schedule and positioning themselves well in the regular season with that schedule. The schedule is a lot harder. So that's why I say when you look at this football team, the window is open, and sometimes you realize, okay, what's the next step? Is everyone getting better for sure? But in my mind, to compete at the highest level, there's a big difference between winning the NFC title and winning the Super Bowl. When you got the final 2 teams, you got to have some unsung heroes. You got to have some key big-time players. And in my mind, you know, it's very close, but yet at the same time, you recognize just how difficult that jump is from just getting to the NFC title to then winning it and getting to the Super Bowl. That jump is delicate. And And yeah, maybe Joe's right. It's 3 players away. But at the same time, I thought the luck factor you got this year, you're playing Brock Purdy in the NFC title game and you're up 17 points. You had the luck. And for whatever reason, when the momentum swung, it just was a complete collapse in tackling, in confidence, in execution. It was really a choke. When you look at it, if you can play that well in the first half and you get punched a little bit and you fall off on the road, that's a complete disaster. And that's why I think they believed this year was the year. If they took some truth serum, they thought this year they could win it all, especially when you're starting to see a couple of injuries that took place and Baltimore gets eliminated and you realize it would have been the Chiefs, the team that you beat. The luck factor hit the Lions a little bit, and unfortunately they just fell a little bit short talent-wise and being on the road. So I hope, and also too, with that schedule, if you add a couple more pieces talent-wise, you can be the number 1 seed, which I think would make it almost a factor that could help the Lions advance, even if it would bridge the gap a little bit in talent. Playing at Ford Field is crazy. These guys definitely have a comfort level there. The fan base forces penalties. So getting the number 1 seed, in my mind, is very key in 2024 with that schedule. And I look at it too, and I say, Jared Goff, is he going to play at the same level in 2024? That's going to be very key, is that you need a little bit more, but, he's only got a certain skill set. But, in terms of the wide receiver you're talking about, I think he's on the roster, and let's see if he develops, and that's Antoine Green. I think his position on the roster might make it so that Josh Reynolds busts out and they move on from him, because you got a young cat that's tall and can do some things, but he's still young and developing. So we'll see. But in my mind, okay, guys, so let's see. Realistically speaking, you guys see a general manager that's building a team, a head coach. You got the coordinators that are wanting to stay. Lions football is good. It's in a good spot, good, safe spot. And the sustainability, there's a chance. But in my mind, in terms of the ability to get to the Super Bowl, you need 1 or 2 more alpha dogs. You need those guys that, hey, second half, 49ers are making a play. They get momentum. Boom. Aiden Hutchinson, it wasn't him. You needed that alpha dog to make the play. Maybe it's Jack Campbell next year. Maybe it's going to be Cam Sutton in a different spot. Maybe it'll be somebody else from the outside. But it's tough to say young cats coming in their first year can do that at that level. But I think they can bridge the gap in free agency if they find the right hungry dudes. And I think when we all start digging deeper, there probably is going to be a handful of tier 2 free agents that can help this football team. And I think Brad Holmes deserves that confidence, deserves that trust that he said in regards to the moves that he makes. And that will allow this football team to take the next step. It's close.
John.
But you keep bringing up Baltimore, though. Why do you keep bringing up Baltimore?
Because they're similar. They're hungry and they got a head coach.
No.
They're done. Their run's over.
Okay, Lamar Jackson is never winning a Super Bowl. That's number 1.
That's bold. I think he gets one.
That's
talent like that. I think he gets one.
He was at home against a crappy Kansas City Chiefs team because they're not that good.
No, Joe. The reason why this year the Chiefs turned it around now and built a defense that's very stout, top 10 in the league.
That's what Walt. That's what Walt.
Playoffs right now.
Yeah, well, John Harbaugh is just like his brother, choke artist, except for 1 year.
That's bold. I love it. I love the bold take.
I just think you keep saying Baltimore, and I'm like, man, what is this Baltimore love? I just look at it like this, man. You keep mentioning Walt. You just said that the Chiefs reinvented themselves. It's kind of the way you do it. You know what I'm saying? Did you come into this year thinking the Chiefs, number 2 defense? I don't think anybody was saying that, but that's just the way they roll. I think that's the way kind of. I could see a similar path for the Lions. I think in a year or two, maybe they might have a defense like that, where the offense takes a step back. I just think, I look at this defense, and I did my podcast today, and I was talking about it today, but everyone keeps saying that the 49ers game was a choke game. I don't see it that way at all. I see it talent found its level. I think all year long they played higher than their talent.
Yep.
I mean, when you think about it like this. They had two defensive linemen get sacks in the top 5 of their defense. They had 2 defensive backs in the top 5, and they had a linebacker. Tell me what team's doing good with that. But you know what? Here's the thing. I look at the defense. I look at Jack Campbell. I look at Brian Branch. They played a hell of a rookie year, and I think they're going to get only better. This defense has a lot of wiggle room to get better. So I don't look at it as like a rookie coming. I think a lot of fans, they think that when you draft a player that they're going to become like this phenom right from the start. It's just not going to happen. So you got to rely on your players that you drafted to get better. Like Ifeatu Melifonwu, there was no one on planet Earth that said, "Oh, he's going to turn into like one of our best players on defense," because he definitely was at the end of the year. So that's what I look at. Like I just think that I think you're going to reinvent yourself pretty much.
Well, John, I want to ask you a quick question. How much of the lack of faith you have in them actually being able to reach the Super Bowl and win it after next year? How much of it has to do with the quarterback position? Even I think the coaching situation. I think that they've instilled such a culture there, and the players love them, and they know and they do such a great job of bringing in the type of players that fit their system. I don't see this team just falling off. Like even when they have injuries or whatever, this is probably still a 10-win team, 11-win team like that. Because I think Dan Campbell is that damn good of a coach as far as having his finger on the pulse of this team right now. Now we can argue whether he's Andy Reid offensively or whatever we want to, but I think they have enough instilled in this team right now, and they draft well enough where they're still going to be a hell of an out Sunday in, Sunday out for teams. Now, would you feel differently about this team if they had a 23-year-old quarterback? Or a 24-year-old quarterback, a guy who's a CJ Stroud or whatever, that they were passing the reins to?
Yeah, no, look, I look at it like you just know how hard it is to keep a roster together. And look, we all think that Amon-Ra is going to stay hungry when he makes 20-25 million a year. You never know. First of all, the window of belief for a head coach is only so short. They're not potentially going to be, naturally speaking, human beings naturally tend to fall off in regards to, hey, Dan Campbell barking at me for the last 5 years. Naturally speaking, the turnover in regards to the roster, naturally speaking, keeping everybody together in regards to the cohesive all grit mentality. Look, eventually speaking, all grit's great, but eventually it's going to be all cash. And some of these guys are going to take it elsewhere. And it's cute. That's why you got these young guys, and it's great.
Yeah.
And you can only do that for so long. So I just think it's just naturally speaking, the NFL is built that way to be a parity league where new teams show up every single time. And it's just unbelievable. And I believe in what Dan Campbell said. He said 2024 is going to be twice as hard to get everything together. And I believe it with the schedule and everything going on and different things together, just knowing how tough it is. I think you push it and you say, this is our window. And because in my mind, yeah, they can get back there again in 3 or 4 more years. But I think the championship window, the window to win it all is like right now. And it doesn't go beyond that with this group. With this group, you can add and draft again. And this 24 and 25 draft, in my opinion, if they don't win it in 24, the next window opens in 26 and 27, in my mind. I don't think you just go right away and just keep that trajectory straight up in the air and go, hey, we go from the NFC to the Super Bowl loss and get back there again. I think you might take a step back a year or two before you get back up again because of just how hard it is to keep everything together. And I do think that Jared Goff is pretty much, this is what you get. If you pressure his ass, he folds. And good teams will figure out how to slow him down fairly easily.
I think you got to also ask who else is trending up, though, in the NFC. I mean, you can say maybe the Atlanta Falcons, depending on how this situation works out. Well,
yeah, that's stretch.
I'm just throwing, listen, the Falcons.
The Packers.
I don't think the Falcons are trending down, but if we take a look around the rest of the NFC, what if there's some questions to be answered in regards to Kyle Shanahan too. Like,
Yep.
what if they lose again to Mahomes and Andy Reid?
See, I don't get the 49ers, like the fallback on the 49ers. I think the 49ers they're going to stay here. That's
Okay.
just the reality. Like, I don't think they're falling off. Like, I keep hearing like the 49ers are going to fall back to the pack or something like that. I just think it's such like hogwash, because I always tell people, like, if you have a good general manager, you're going to stay there at all times. You're going to be a competitive team. Now you can be like the Dallas Cowboys too, where you just stay there and you win 10 games every year and you lose in the playoffs. 49ers are a totally different team, and they keep getting these damn comp picks for every minority coach that they have. Like D'Amico Ryans goes comp pick, Mike McDaniel comp pick. Like, it's just like, oh, their GM, their what was it? Their cap guy. He goes to the Titans comp pick. Like, that's just what the way good teams do it, man.
Yeah.
It's like they don't fall off like all of a sudden. I think a lot of people they undervalue good general managers, because good general managers can keep you alive for a long time.
But
Eventually,
Frisco
water
win
does
it,
find
though?
its level, though.
Shouldn't Frisco win it though? Like, they've been considered, at least by the media darlings, over the past 4 years as the best roster in football, the best team, the best this and that, and they still haven't done it. They went to 4 straight NFC championships?
Yeah.
And lost them?
That's a nice run. Nice run for them. But let's see. Let's see. Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, you're right, Joe. I wouldn't discount them. But I think in terms of their championship window, similar to the Lions, they can be in the playoffs and do things, but to keep pushing back and getting to the NFC championship game and beyond.
Well, yeah, that's my whole point I was trying to make, that you only get so many bites of the apple.
That's right. You only get so many bites of the apple to win it all.
You can be as great as you want to be. As great as Frisco's been, the Rams won on that clock. The Eagles got out of the NFC and made it to win within one possession of beating the Kansas City Chiefs. Yep. So, I mean, it was all good when you were beating Green Bay every single year in the playoffs or whatnot, or blowing Dallas heads completely off of their shoulders. But I'm just saying, I think that we're definitely trending up.
No doubt.
Frisco is where they're at right now. The Eagles are a shit show. They got a bunch of mess going on over there. That fan base wants everybody fired like every single year. Dallas is what Dallas is. So, Green Bay, ton of talent on defense. Obviously, I think people had to give their quarterback his time. Even though he has been in the league 3 years, this is still relatively his rookie season. He needed to fill some things out. And as the season progressed, he played his best ball when they needed him to play his best ball. And in that playoff game against Dallas, he looked like Aaron Jr. for the most part. So I'm just not sold on the rest of the NFC, man. I think you look at the Eagles, they want to run Jalen Hurts out of town. Frisco is what Frisco is. I think they're going to be our biggest competition moving forward. But, the Rams, they're still retooling. I think enough hasn't been said for that Rams team, considering the draft picks they've had. They drafted really well on that team on both sides of the football. So McVay deserves a hell of a lot of credit for what he's been able to do with that team. But we're not in the AFC. We're in the NFC. Frisco, can they keep everybody? That's another question with them as well.
Well, I think we're going to look at this whole era of NFL football, and we're going to look at Patrick Mahomes as the Michael Jordan of the NFL. Because he's going to keep a lot of dudes from getting rings. I guarantee you that. Josh Allen might be Charles Barkley. Joe Burrow might be like Hakeem Olajuwon. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is what happens when you have great players.
Mahomes
and that's why
to retire for 2 years. He gonna retire for 2 years, huh?
You never know. But that's
let's hope not. He doesn't go down the road of gambling and smoking cigars.
Well, one thing that has happened now is the opportunity that we all get to talk about real football, talk about championships, building rosters, free agency. That's what this season brought. It was a season that was a missed opportunity, but also was a successful season. And that made it fun to talk with you boys about it. I can't wait near the draft to maybe fire it up again. Darcy, this was a good year for the Detroit Lions. and talking about this football team. And now we get to see Brad Holmes put himself on the table. He put his nuts on the table and said, hey, trust in our process. Let's see what dividends it will pay. Thank you, boys.
I want to thank every one of you podcasters for coming on. I'm just a producer. We haven't had that many viewers today. We haven't had that many comments. It's kind of the off season, but we just had the Reese's Senior Bowl. We have a very special guest. Joe, do you want to come on with Jeff Risdon tomorrow? Walt's coming on and talk about the Senior Bowl. I know John's busy. Are you muted? You're muted, bud.
Oh, I'll see what time I get out of my
7 o'clock.
I'll probably be out of it.
So this is what's going to be. He's the Riz. Jeff Risdon's going to talk about the Reese's Senior Bowl. We're down to 3 viewers. I really appreciate John for coming on. You're a professional. You get paid for this. You're in Allen Park. Joe runs the biggest page, the hottest page, Detroit Lions News podcast, and Walt is Walt. He's going to be in on New Orleans next year. You watch, as a big time podcaster. I could see that. I don't know about you.
Me and Walt are gunning for Carson Anderson's stupid ass job.
Well, you kind of do look like Gator, but you're a little bit lighter. You're a little bit lighter. I could be the Rieger. Like I could be that. I could plug my nose and sound like Kermit.
You gotta shave your hair though.
You gotta shave your hair.
My wife likes to pull on my hair, guys. Come on.
And I can be Kane. Wait a minute. Whoa. Okay. All right.
Wait.
Should be the other way around, Darcy.
Oh, I thought that was funny. But we're going to end it. I appreciate every one of you. Thank you for the 2023 season. It wasn't what we wanted, but we were one ball bounced off a helmet. And, it just sometimes you just got to go for the field goal, I do believe. But thanks, guys. I appreciate one of you. And we're going to start the 2024 season off with Jeff Risdon tomorrow.
Welcome to the Detroit Lions News Show, your number one source for Detroit Lions news.
But when I see Dan Campbell handling the clock the way he has over the last 3 years, same shit.
So what do you guys think? What do you guys think? We're still alive. For the 2 viewers. You got a little treat here, the little 2 viewers.
Oh,
viewership is down. Woo!
Yeah, it is what it is. I don't care.
The only way I can see players what players are going to come here right now and not buy into shit though. The only way the message gets old is if you start losing. And the only way I can see this team falling apart and losing is via injuries. Yeah.
No, I agree. No, I don't think they're falling off at all, man. I just think that I don't think a player is gonna come here and be like, oh, Dan Campbell, like F this guy. You know what I'm saying? Like he's a player's coach, so I don't really
why we got pads on today.
Right.
It's too much of this shit. It's too
no,
much.
I do think Brad Holmes is gonna be aggressive free agency. I think he's gonna be aggressive in a trade too. I think he's going to make a trade. I think if you're gonna make a trade, I think one of the trades I think I brought it up in that cast, but Khalil Mack, I think Khalil Mack could be had. And if you can get Khalil Mack for a 4th round pick, you're probably doing it. 4th, 3rd round pick, you're probably doing it. Like I don't like John was saying, they're not going to go out there and they're not going to pay Jalen Johnson $20 million. Like, well, obviously, I mean, he's not Jalen effing Ramsey, so let's, you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of people like I see our boy Avery. You don't want Stephon Gilmore, but what if you get a guy like, let's say you got Khalil Mack in a trade, then you got Stephon Gilmore, and then you add a defensive tackle, maybe like the Grover Stewart, maybe someone in the draft or something. Then all of a sudden your defense is looking like A1 right there,
Well, my question is, how good is the league scouting? We know how good the collegiate scouting is, but
right.
How good is it because we can go through the top 100 free agents or whatnot. There's 100 more.
Yeah.
Like, how good are you at finding the guys, the 60th guy on the roster or whatnot, the guys in the practice squad who
Right.
just need the opportunity to play? Like, we haven't done a lot of that. Now, he's done a great job as far as the draft, but as far as maneuvering through free agency, because everybody's been what, a 1-year deal,
Yeah.
maybe 2. I mean, they brought back Josh after that year 1 and gave him 2 years.
I think that was a
Chark,
good find though.
yeah, Chark had 1 year, which turned out to be the right decision and whatnot. So outside of the draft, they haven't done very well as far as
Well, I don't think they've been in the position to do anything necessarily to like honestly, if you went up to I think the problem that they had, especially going in and last off season, was all right, well you did something, but what are you gonna do to show people that you actually have a consistent product? You know what I'm saying? That's the way I look at it. Like I don't think if you're going to if you're going to some random free agent and you're going, okay, let's go you want to come to Detroit? And they're like probably like, well, I can go here, I can go there, you know what I'm saying? Like that's what they think, probably. So
yeah, you don't as an organization, you don't want to develop the reputation of not paying anybody.
right.
Because I think a lot of times fans feel, well, we're winning and we've got this culture, and why wouldn't people want to come here? Because, like John mentioned, it's the money. This is still a job at the end of the day for these dudes.
Well
And
that's why I was banging home like I'm sorry to cut you off, but that's why I was banging home the whole we gotta pay golf thing. Because like how bad would it look to go into free agency or go into something like that and say, yeah, this guy he played great for us, but we said nah. You know what I'm saying? And I get that there is like maybe you have someone that's the developing quarterback or something like that, but at the same time, like guy got you to the NFC Championship game, got to pay the guy, and that's the way it goes. And I think a lot of people are still playing this whole hooker game. I mean, it's all right, but not gonna
yeah,
happen.
I mean, a lot of times people like to bring up the Matt Flynn, Russell Wilson comparison, which I think is completely different, completely off. Flynn was a guy that was coming off of one game with Green Bay and parlayed that into a big time deal. He was in competition with a guy that Pete Carroll loved, brought in, handpicked himself,
Yep.
and he won. He straight flat out won that job. So Goff is a guy that's performed for 3 years. Not so much year 1, but year 1 he didn't really have shit.
Yeah, year one
Didn't
was
really
kind
have
of
much.
like a throwaway year,
Yeah,
anyways.
but the last 2 years, you're talking about a guy that went out there and performed at a Pro Bowl level.
Yeah,
So if you're going to throw that guy out, you better make sure the guy you're replacing him with can do damn better. You know,
and I think a lot of people like if you're a free agent, you want to go to somewhere where they have a proven quarterback. You know what I'm saying? I think a lot of teams like I know the Texans have some cap room. There's gonna be a lot of players going to Houston, in my opinion. I think the Lions have a lot of they have a lot of cap room. I think a lot of players are gonna be like, I want to go play there because of Dan Campbell and that culture. You know what I'm saying? I think it's funny because I do the Rebels podcast too, and I got to talk to Darren McCarty, and the one thing that he has always said is they would never have had that 2002 Stanley Cup team if they didn't have the players that they brought in the 2001 and 2000 free agent class. And he said that led up to them getting all those Hall of Famers that took less money to come here. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's what you're trying to the culture you're trying to build is look, we're gonna be damn good. And if you want to come, you can come, but like you might have to take less money. I think players are willing to do that. I mean, like, look, I think as a guy like Stephon Gilmore would love to play with his brother. I mean, that's one thing you got with there.
yeah.
So I don't I think that the Lions are in a good spot to like. I know John was saying the Super Bowl busted next year, but that's not gonna really fluctuate.
I mean, hey, we've seen perceived better teams and better organizations go one and done. Well, we haven't even went one and done.
Right.
We haven't even gotten there yet. I just think that there's too much built within this team for them to fall off like that, or for their window to just close. It's just And if Goff goes out next season and grossly underperforms, I have no doubt that they'll put forth the effort to move on if they feel like Hooker's the guy.
Yeah.
Now, history isn't really on Hooker's favor when it comes to drafting a guy at his age. You're talking about letting him sit for 2 years.
The hit,
Next
right?
thing you know, he's about to be 27, heading into his third season. That doesn't necessarily work out that well for these guys. But
Yeah, I just
yeah,
think like I don't know, man. You see, look at like Carolina. Carolina, they kind of fell off after that one Super Bowl run. But I don't think they were built well to begin with. I think it was just Cam Newton being Cam Newton. You know what I'm saying? I think
I
a lot of
mean,
time.
it
I
was a
think a lot.
perfect storm. The defense was great that year. The rushing attack with D'Angelo and
Yeah.
Jonathan was great.
I think a lot of these teams. I feel like Buffalo is becoming a victim of that, where they have such a great player, such an elite player, and they try to build their team like a Madden team, like a Madden Ultimate team, right? Where they're just like, oh, we're gonna get this guy, we're gonna get this guy, we're gonna get this guy, but in the end of the day, like football is like the ultimate kids game. Like you need an offensive line, you need a defensive line, you need a run game, you need to rush the passer. I think a lot of these teams they get too cute, and I don't think Brett Holmes is gonna get too cute.
You don't think Buffalo kind of suffered through a shitload of injuries? Like that defense was like top 3 in the league 2 years ago at one
Yeah,
point in time, and then once Tre'Davious started getting hurt and Poyer got hurt and
yeah,
Hyde got hurt, and then Milano, like guys year after year just started falling off. So,
yeah,
but and I said this before the season even began, that Buffalo, they were going to take a step back. I had them as a 9-win team. They went on to win 11 games after starting they were 5-5.
yeah.
And finished with 11 wins, which is not bad for a trash quarterback like a lot of people try to say, or
Why do
overrated,
people? Wait, why do
overrated
people?
quarterback.
Why do people?
Listen, man, I'm not even gonna get into that. Josh, my dude. But even if Josh wasn't my dude, I don't understand. Look, people have these motives to push in the media that are pretty unfair to all these guys, whether you're comparing him to Lamar Jackson or Mahomes or whatever. For whatever reason, people have this hang up with Josh Allen. And why? Well, he can't beat Mahomes. Well, neither can Lamar. Neither can these other dudes, but y'all don't bring that shit up.
No.
When the company is always about Josh can't do this and Josh can't do that. And we kind of scapegoat everybody else. But Josh is just in a situation where he's leaned on to be too much. And you don't find that too often in football. You'll see it in the NBA with NBA teams and whatnot, leaning on one guy to do damn near everything. But as bad as we may think Buffalo overall is right now, roster-wise, because they're falling apart.
Yeah.
Right around that quarterback, that roster's falling apart. He still took them from 5-5 to 11-6.
Yeah, he's a good
and won a playoff game.
He's a good quarterback. He's a great quarterback, man. Like I don't know why people have this notion that you have to they call Brock Purdy a system quarterback. I don't know what a system quarterback is.
I'm tired of people taking offense to that shit, man. Like everybody isn't fucking top 5. And it's like if you say a guy's a system quarterback, which the definition of it is you're a quarterback that performs well within the system. Oh, that's a knock on him. Oh, you're disrespecting my guy.
I don't believe it's a system quarterback type of thing though.
I believe there's guys that perform well within the system, and if you take them out of that, they may be completely different.
You take Jimmy Garoppolo out of them there, he's a system quarterback. I don't think Brock Purdy is a system quarterback though.
I don't know what Garoppolo is anymore. He hasn't played in 6 years.
He's busy banging porn stars,
I think what they mean with system quarterback is a quarterback that's overachieving because of their OC and their head coach. I think that's what that means. And when somebody says that, it's lazy.
Right.
Look at Lamar Jackson. Look at Lamar Jackson.
Receivers though, or you're a possession receiver. Well, damn. I mean, is everybody Randy Moss? Like, why can't I be a possession receiver? Why can't I be a guy who my quarterback depends on in crunch time?
Right.
When it's 3rd and 6. When it's 3rd and 12, why can't I be the guy that he depends on? He trusts.
Oh no, my favorite's when a white wide receiver comes out and they're like, "This dude is Wes Welker or Jordy Nelson."
He's crafty. he's sneaky athletic. Like, why can't he just be athletic? Like, Like Cooper DeJean is like they're going so far and beyond to keep hammering home. He's athletic. He's athletic. Okay, we get it. He's athletic.
My favorite comp of this whole draft thing so far is they compared Cooper DeJean to a cornerback in the 1940s. I was like, bro, wait. You just compared him to a cornerback in the 1940s, bro. Like, what is it?
I think as fans and the media, we're too caught up in this disrespect stuff. And if everybody's elite, everybody's a game breaker. When I said Amon-Ra St. Brown was a possession receiver, a lot of Lions fans destroyed me. No, he's not. He's not Tyreek Hill. I mean, there are different skill sets. Everybody isn't a big-time downfield playmaker. Is Amon-Ra St. Brown an 80-yard touchdown guy waiting to happen? No, that's not what he is. That's not what Keenan Allen is. Like, it's okay. Even Calvin Ridley, it's okay to not be a speed demon. But it's like if you don't call everybody a big-time game breaker, then you're insulting them. If I don't say you're elite, then if I say you're assistant quarterback, I'm slapping you in the face, and that's not the case. We need to stop you. I think a lot of these people, even though I think Cam Newton is harmless, but when I look at how Cam Newton talks about Brock Purdy, he talks about Jared Goff, originally that first statement, it comes across as kind of like, yeah, you guys ain't really all that. When in all actuality, who says as the quarterback, I have to be the most super talented guy on the team? Like I brought up Joe Montana. Montana was never that. Montana was never Elway. Montana was never Dan Marino.
Yeah.
But they won with him.
Yeah, I just think
Hang on. The producer and me has to remind you you have a show in a bit here. Well, do you not?
No, I don't.
It's
I thought
Thursday.
you said you had. I thought you had. Oh, Thursday.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Program note.
we're doing the PFF mock draft simulator, 7 rounds. We're gonna draft all corners. We're gonna hit the lottery with one of these motherfuckers.
You sound like Coach Zimmer and the Minnesota Vikings. That's what they did 4 years back. All corners.
Yeah.
All corners.
We won them all.
One's got a hit.
And they all sucked, which was even better.
Xavier was good.
No, that wasn't the Xavier draft. That was the Caleb Evans, Cameron Dantzler.
Oh yeah.
That was that class. That
Your
oh
boy
my
was
god.
terrible too from Michigan State.
Oh,
Trey
Trey.
Waynes.
Oh yeah, Hollywood. Well, Trey Waynes was going to be terrible because he liked to be physical a lot. That shit wasn't wrong.
Fast ass 40 though.
Roy, jump on. I sent you the link there. Just click on it. You can come on.
Bro,
with your phone.
I don't care if you ran that fast ass 40. All you gotta do is turn on the tape. See, that's the part I love about the combine is these overreactions to the guys in running in tights, man. I love that shit. Like there'll be some random guy that they're like, this guy, he's the next freaking Deion Sanders, and you're like,
Don't
dude,
tell me shit about watching film. I don't give a damn what his 22 collegiate games say. That's the worst.
I love the way that happens with the combine because that shit is so funny, man. Like I laugh at it every time. Like there's always one guy that you're like, where did this come from? Like where did this guy come? Like Zach Wilson was one of them. They were like,
he started with Zach all season at BYU though.
Well, that's because he threw off platform and he looked like Patrick Mahomes, and it was like, all right, dude. Whatever you say.
He got a lot of arm talent. Or you think he's gonna show up next season?
No, he ain't gonna show up.
Nowhere.
He'll be a good backup. He just gotta get out. He gotta get out of New York. Like the Jets, man. Just get out of New York.
What do you think about that? Aaron Rodgers, is he going to be coming back, or do you think he's coming back?
He's going to get 1 year.
I was listening to part of the Joe Rogan podcast because he was on a Joe Rogan podcast.
Hmm.
He said he's coming back next year. He's going to be ready to play. He's taking his retreat though in a couple weeks.
Oh, right.
Yeah. I could see Zach Wilson ended up somewhere like in Frisco.
That'd be perfect for him. That would.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think you brought up I want to bring this up again. You brought up Atlanta and like I don't know.
I'm
Raheem
just
Morris.
asking, if you look at the Falcons, how big of a difference, even if Raheem isn't the difference maker 2 or 3 years from now, how much better is that team with a competent quarterback? Look at the way they were losing games last season.
No, I agree. I if they swung a trade for Justin Fields, I'd be all in for that. Like that'd be
I'm not even
great.
sold on Justin, man. Justin don't do any of the little things correct, and he still struggles with them.
I don't care.
Wise.
I don't look. I think it'd just be fun as hell to watch him, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, and Bijan they would just do. It'd be like street ball. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't have to be like. It's like
you don't care about the Falcons' future.
You
just want to see. You just want to see video game stuff. Yeah.
I just want to see fun shit. Like I think that'd be fun as hell, man.
I
like
was talking to people about that the last few weeks, man. Like if I'm Atlanta and I'm Arthur Blank, and I wouldn't mind coaching for Arthur Blank. Arthur Blank seems like a solid ass GM.
Right.
He's involved, but he's still hands off involved. He just want to see his team win. If I'm Atlanta, I'm doing everything I can to get up to 1.
Yep.
Honestly, I'm not.
Yep.
I'm done playing around with this damn this Desmond Ridder shit. Taylor Heineke, we know what Taylor Heineke is. Stop playing around. Just go get a damn quarterback. Swing.
See what Roy said? He thinks Walt and I are the 2 best podcasters out there. Isn't that amazing? You gotta love
don't even podcast. Wait a minute now.
I have. I do all the time, but you guys just don't see it. I go on trash talking groups and put these little, these Green Bay Packer fans in their place. I just don't do it here because Roy, what are you doing? Roy, I'm the best podcast. They call me the real deal, Darcy Maville, for nothing. Come on now.
Well,
I heard nobody say that.
It ain't some of those people,
Walt calls me the real deal all the time. He calls me every morning. Get up, real deal.
That's the first thing to do with my ass. Get up in the morning. To call Darcy.
He calls Darcy. He's like, "Get up, real deal."
Get up, make a thumbnail, damn it. Stop slacking, Darcy. You got Canva open for a reason.
Whoa. Oh, I appreciate it. Oh yeah. Let's go. No, it was funny though, because you brought up Atlanta, and I was like, man. I was like, I like that team. They're fun as hell to watch. And if they got a competent quarterback, they'd be fun as hell to watch. But
put Kirk Cousins over there.
No, you know where Kirk Cousins has to go? I'm telling you right now. I pissed off a lot of my Viking friends, but I don't give a hell about that. Steelers. Kenny Pickett experience has to go away, man. Like him and his small hands and the fake
6
slide.
touchdown passes in 2 seasons.
Okay, let me just say this: if there's some Steeler fans that think they don't have to get a quarterback, they have to get a quarterback, man. That Kenny Pickett experience is hilarious. That whole draft for quarterbacks was hilarious. I remember Malik Willis at 2. I'm like, bro, no, not even at all, man. Like Malik Willis. Oh, we're playing the Jared Goff thing again?
Who put that up there? Was that you, Darcy?
It was the real deal,
Yeah. I don't know. I think, like I said, the Falcons just, man, looking at how they're built and how they were losing games, it seemed like they were always, after a Lions win or some other team that got blew out or whatever, they'll cut away to the end of a Falcon game, and it was always 20-8. 17-13, 11-6, and I'm just looking at like, damn, like between Arthur, what's his name? Damn, the head coach,
Arthur Smith.
Yeah, between Arthur Smith and Desmond Ridder not taking responsibility for shit, like y'all just can't get anywhere. They just couldn't.
No, I was laughing because I remember when that whole draft pick, there was a guy that he's a more notable NFL draft guy, which I don't take any of those guys seriously because they say stupid shit like this, but he's like, this guy is like Russell Wilson. I'm like, what? Like Russell Wilson It's not even that's not even a good comp to him. You know what I'm saying? More like
The comps is it. I'm done with the comps.
I love the comps, man. I love it. Like this just it's so great. Especially like when you get to like these like Lad McConkey. I guarantee you someone's gonna say he's like Wes Welker or like Jordy Nelson or something like that. You know what I'm saying? When he's not even he's not even either one.
220.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I can see it. He's definitely a carbon copy of Ed McCaffrey. Like really? Okay, you say so.
No, I love Luke McCaffrey. He's coming out of Rice and he's a wide receiver or whatever.
He's talented McCaffrey.
Yeah, well, someone said that he's Christian McCaffrey as a wide receiver.
Oh, okay.
I was like, all right. Yeah.
Here we go with the lazy shit.
Yeah, that's a sad time of the year, man. But no, like I think Luke McCaffrey could be good though, in a certain offense.
I ain't like anything about what I saw from him at the Senior Bowl, honestly. But I mean, who knows? He can get in the right system and be perfectly fine.
He's got to go to that system quarterback in San Francisco
with his brother.
Yeah, we're gonna get some. We're gonna get another white receiver.
Another one. Hey, Roman Wilson, get over here. I'm not white. Yes, you are. I like Roman too.
Man, you remember when the Patriots was good, they pick up some random white wide receiver and he'd be like Chris Hogan who played lacrosse and he's like good. Then you pick up like a guy like Julian Edelman, he's just friggin' phenom, and you're like, what kind of like truth serum in Boston do they have? You know what I'm saying? Like this guy turns into like elite slot wide receiver, and you got Gronk.
He's selfless.
He's selfless, man.
He never puts himself before the team like I do with my money.
Oh, look at that, the real deal. Wait, why is he ahead of Crackman and the Pilgrim? Damn it, Darcy.
Tom Kennedy.
Man.
Fans, oh man. Who was the biggest Lion player that they had that fans were just so in love with that you hated?
Oh.
Like I hated the Zach Zenner shit.
Oh, did you?
Because you had Lions fans calling in on the radio talking about he's better than Adrian Peterson and just give him a shot. He's going to be this, he's going to be that. I hate it. It got to a point where I damn near hated Zach Zenner.
Oh my god, what was that one guy? He was a running back.
Joy Bell?
No. It was like Win, a running back. Isaiah Winner or whatever. George Wynn. I think it was George Wynn.
Oh, him, yeah.
Yeah, and everyone's like, this guy is like the hidden gem, and I'm like, bro.
Everybody knows hidden gems now.
I was like, the whole Zach Zenner thing was funny though because like there were literally people pubbing this guy as like a legit running back, and I was like, he make a badass fullback for sure, but Roy says Ernie Sims.
Ernie, yeah.
Mr. Alligator.
Ernie was actually a semi-decent football player, man. He was just too small.
You know what's funny about Ernie Sims? So my cousin, he does painting. He does painting for his company or whatever, and he painted Ernie Sims' condo in Canada or whatever, and he has 2 pet lizards that he would walk on a leash. You don't even know what to do with it.
Nothing else to do, huh? Nothing else to do, huh?
You got 2 pet lizards on a leash. It's like, man, you better go do some Minnesotas or something,
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think fans overrated Reggie Bush too.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, Reggie Bush.
He's gonna be the Reggie Bush of USC. Like, is he? Do you not see his age? Have you not watched him in the NFL?
No. The most overrated Lion of all time has to be Chris Durham. Of all time.
Oh, yeah. You know why? Did you know that he was roommates with Stafford?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, did you know that him and Clayton Kershaw played baseball together? You didn't know that, did you?
By the way, happy birthday, Matthew Stafford.
Oh,
Oh,
here
yeah.
you go. You might as well put a Ram logo on that damn mic. The
You're
blue
a
was close
jackass.
enough.
Come on now. That's a Yeti. That's a Yeti.
Oh, man, boy.
You know
I'm
what?
going to jump off here, guys. Joe,
Yeah,
end the
me
show
too.
or whatever you want. But
Yeah.
for
it's all right.
7 o'clock with, hang on, let me do this. I'm going to try to do the producing thing at the same time. Tomorrow we are going to talk Senior Bowl. Roy is going to be jumping on and leaving all sorts of comments. And we're going to break down the Senior Bowl with Jeff Risdon, the Riz. I'm going to jump out and, my wife's going to pull my hair and,
Man.
I'm going to jump on them tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because we got to do the mock draft at 8:30, so I'm getting on there for about a good 45 minutes.
Yeah, send me a link. I might jump on that. So, because I have a mock draft that I've already started. I have like 4 in the queue. So, and then when the combine starts, I'm gonna do I'll do something else. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Mock off season. Let's go.
Mock off.
I did that
All right,
last
man.
year. Oh man. All right.
Go ahead.
I'll see you.
All right, take care.